Yeah, that's a Glock. Uh, I don't know what to tell you. That's a Glock. So let's go ahead and just do this. Hi, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do a quick review on the Glock 35 chambered in .40 caliber. So let's go ahead and check it out. Alright, this is the Glock 35 chambered in .40. This is an all-black gun with the metal slide and the black polymer grip frame. So we'll go ahead and talk about some of the features. This is a pretty big gun. Surprisingly enough, I didn't realize that the Glock 35 was this big of a gun. But for being as big as it is, it's really not as heavy. I mean, all the weight is definitely right up here in the slide. So we'll go ahead and go through the features real quick. With the muzzle pointed to the left, we'll go ahead and start at the top. At the top, we'll find a pretty standard single white dot sight. It's a really big dot, and it's really bright white, which, you know, it's easy to pick up when you get a good sight picture. This does have the ported slide at the front of the barrel. And then as you come down to the back of the slide, we have a pretty standard U-cut. Give you a sight picture there. It's a little bit of a shallow cut, but you can still get a good sight picture in there. And the rear sight is a really bright white. These are adjustable sights, obviously. Then below that on the slide are your standard vertical serrations on the slide, which are on both sides. Now, the problem that I have with these is you don't really get quite as good of a grip on these vertical serrations as you do some of the like fish scales or angled serrations or whatever. But the slide moves really easy, so even if you don't have a good grip on it, you can still get a good action on your slide. So we'll go ahead and then down on the grip frame just in front of the serrations is going to be your slide stop, which is really easy to activate, locks into position really well. It's a pretty small little tab on there. I don't know if I'll get it in camera all that well, but it's super easy to activate. Just you slap your finger across there and it drops. So that's a good feature right there. I like. Some of them are pretty stiff, especially if your gun is empty. But this one actions really well. Then just above the trigger well, along front of the slide on the grip frame is going to be your takedown lever. There's a little notch right there, and then there's a little tab. Sorry, I can get that on camera. Sorry about that. Little tabs right there, which are on both sides, and then you'll just have to pull down on those to get the slide off, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Then at the front of the grip frame is going to be your standard rail. It does have the one little cut, little Picatinny cut down at the bottom for your lights, your lasers, whatever chainsaw attachment, whatever you might want to put on here. Then below that is going to be your trigger well. This is a pretty big trigger well. You can definitely, if you have a glove on, I live in Maryland and I shoot in the winter quite a bit, so I wear gloves. So if you got a glove on, you're not going to have to worry about actioning your trigger. And if you got a little bit beefier of a glove on. Then behind the trigger well is going to be your magazine release. Works out pretty well. Nice and easy. It's only on the left side of the gun. This came with 3 polymer Glock magazines, 15 round mags, which I like pretty well. They're the double stack. One of the features about the Glock magazines that I do like is they have that little chunk of metal right there at the top that'll hold your round in position for you pretty good. So I do like that about the Glock magazine. Not to mention the fact if your car runs out of gas, you stuff a Glock magazine down in there and you'll be able to get to the gas station. Or if you you need to cut your grass, grab a Glock magazine. That'll help cut your grass. Glock magazines are used for everything. It does have the angled grip, which I'm not a big fan of. Not a big fan of Glocks altogether, but this one came up and I figured, what the heck, let me go ahead and grab one. Came with this Pacemar or Pacmar rubber grip thing. I don't know what they're called, but it came on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep it on there. This gun does fit in my hand pretty good. I do like the little wells cut out on the grip for your thumb to fall into, and it does have one on the other side, so if you're a left-handed shooter, your thumb can fall right in there and have a nice place to sit. So we'll go ahead and go through the trigger real quick and see what we think of the trigger. This does have the dingus on it. The booklet says it's about a 4.5 pound trigger. I don't know, I didn't test that, but it is a really smooth, easy to pull trigger. This is a standard Glock trigger. It hasn't been upgraded or anything. And as you pull through, if you want to call that a wall, then I guess you could call that a wall, but I'd say that this doesn't have a wall because you can pull really smooth all the way through the trigger. and it's really light and easy to pull. The reset, really loud clicks when you pull the trigger, so you can definitely hear that. It's a short reset and then another pop. One thing I noticed is that when you do pull the trigger, and I'm aware of the fact that, you know, the slide's not, you know, cycling, so this gun is empty, no magazines, so make sure that when you're doing, you know, gun reviews and cleaning, that you do have empty firearms. Sorry I didn't mention that earlier. But the trigger does lock back, so I'm not really sure why that happens, but as you run the slide, it'll pop back into position again. And if you want to go ahead and take it down, now that I've already pulled the trigger, I don't have to pull the trigger after I pull the slide down. So you rock the slide to the back just a little bit and then pull down on these levers, and when you let go, the slide will come off. If you haven't pulled the trigger yet, you will have to pull the trigger, and you'll notice the slide bump forward just a little bit. So once you've got the slide off, you can inspect the inside, clean it up. This gun's pretty oily. I just picked it up, so I haven't had a chance to wipe it down or anything like that. But pretty standard. This does have a pretty beefy Hawken slide on it. All the weight of the gun is right here. I'd say that this probably weighs easily twice as much as that, if not more. But anyway, to take it apart, it's got the full length guide rod with spring. Just push the spring toward the muzzle a little bit and pop it out. Then take and pop up the barrel and pull it out. That way you can inspect everything, wipe it down, clean it. Then you'll be able to see the porting at the top of the slide. And then right down here, there's another port drilled into it. Not really too sure why. I didn't read the owner's manual, and I haven't studied Glocks or anything like that to know why that's there, but it is. So maybe if you know why that's there, you can leave that in the comments below. Putting them back together is pretty simple. You know, just go in the reverse order. There's only a couple pieces, so make sure everything's in where it goes. Line your slide back up with your guide rails. Function check. And there you go. There's the Glock 35, chambered in .40 cal. It actually happened. I own a Glock. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Please leave comments below, and see you next time.